Hey church, happy Thanksgiving, and from my family to yours, I hope that you are having a great Thanksgiving weekend. But I did want to leave you with a couple of kind of special announcements about some things that are coming up over the next several weeks. Just because I'm so excited about these and some of the things that God is going to be doing over the next few weeks in our church. If you've been with us lately, what we've been talking about is the question: what does it look like for us to be the church in the pandemic and despite the pandemic? It's kind of our new theme, our temporary mission for right now in the midst of everything that's going on. And 2 weeks ago, I gave you some goals as a church that we are going to be pursuing to try to overcome and be the church in the pandemic and despite the pandemic. And so I want to share some updates with you on some of the things that are happening with some of these things. Number one is this: Pastor Natalie has been working on some reading plans, some aids for you to be able to go deeper in your word. That was the very first of our goals that we had talked about a few weeks ago, is helping you to get to know God better, to dig into your word more, to get to know Him in a relationship with Him and go deeper. That's something that, the pandemic can't take from you, right? And so here's the great thing about the things that she has prepared. There are options built into it no matter who you are, so that this can be a successful experience for you. And what I mean by that is this: there's a verse a day for those of you who have a hard time doing great big long readings or don't have a lot of time, so that God can kind of work on your heart and your mind with a verse a day. There's a chapter a day option for those of you who want to go deeper in your word. And then there's a reading plan with several chapters for those of you who have more time on your hands and who want to go deep. Now, the best part about all of this, though, is this: all of these chapters, these verses that she has given to you, go along with what we're going to be talking about over the next several weeks. Now, that brings me to the second goal that we put forth, a couple of weeks ago. The first one was to go deeper in your word. That's something that the pandemic can't take from us. The second thing was this: to go deeper in your connections with what we're doing as a church and with each other. Now, how does that connect? Let me show you this. Starting next week, we're going to be starting a brand new series called Grown Up Faith. And what this series is all about is there are 11 massive questions that Christians and non-Christians alike struggle with. In fact, one of the things that I love about this series is that I think it's going to connect to both you who have been in the faith for a long time and those of you who maybe are newer to the faith or maybe are just kind of outside the faith, looking in with some questions that you struggle with in particular. And so I'm kind of excited to dig into these questions, because what we're going to be doing is looking at the answers and tackling these from God's perspective and what the church has to say about these things. Now, all of this stuff is loosely based off of a book by a guy by the name of Kevin Myers. Not me, another guy. In fact, it has nothing to do with the fact that a guy named Kevin Myers wrote this. I love the questions, and so that's why we're going to be pursuing this. And so I want you to understand that you don't need the book, okay? But, number one, I always give credit where credit is due. Number two, sometimes, it can be helpful if you're a reader to read along with us as we're going through these. And so I want to encourage you that if you're interested in this, you can either get in contact with me and I can order a copy for you if you're not technically savvy, or you can go on Amazon and buy it off of Amazon. Or one of the things that I try to encourage people is to go down and support the local bookstore. And so he can order in some books at the Christian bookstore as well. And so if you're interested in that, it's called Grown Up Faith by Kevin Myers. That's what we're going to be going through. But you don't need, and I want to be clear on this, you don't need the book to go through it. Now, here's the reason why I tell you all that. I tell you that because over the next couple weeks, what I'm looking for is some individuals to come to me and say, hey, listen, me and a friend, me and, maybe my wife or husband and another couple, or me and my group that I've already started, or that I want to start, we want in on this. And what we want to do as a church is partner with you over the next several weeks. And in response to that, we want to be able to kind of coordinate with you and be able to give you questions about what we're talking about each week for you guys to study as a group, that will challenge you, that will keep you accountable, so that you can grow in your faith and go deeper. Now, here's the best part about that. You don't have to be a leader to be able to do this. You don't have to prepare the lesson. We want to partner with you to be able to do that so that you and the people in your bubble can pray together and read together and grow together. And on top of that, we want to do this in coordination with you so that we can come in alongside of you and encourage you when you need encouragement. If you have questions, we can help you answer those. If you have concerns or you need one of us to meet with you, we can do that so that we can back you up and spur you on. We are better together. And I say that over and over because I believe that to be true. We are better together, and we want to connect anybody who is willing in our church online or otherwise to where we're going each week so that you can go deeper in your faith. And here's just how easy it is. All we need you to do is come to us and say, hey, listen, I've got a friend, I've got a couple, they're in our bubble, we want to start meeting, we want to connect to this, okay? So that's how easy it is. Bible plan, number one. Number two is the new series that we're going to be doing and getting connected. But then the third thing as far as a goal is a mobilization of the church to begin to start making a difference in the name of Jesus within our community. If you remember what we talked about back a couple of weeks ago, I talked about the idea that the pandemic can't stop you from being Jesus within your community. And I want to give you kind of a little bit of a testimony on that because this is just some of the things that are starting to unfold in the midst of all of this. And especially for me personally, in the middle of God laying these three goals on my heart and mind over the last couple of months, the question that I found myself asking was, what was my role going to be in all this? Because it's one thing to preach this, it's another thing to kind of listen to it, but it's another thing entirely to figure out our role within this, isn't it? And in the midst of me asking God that question, God, show me how I can make a difference within this, I got a call from somebody within our community that is right now literally changing the lives of a family in this area. And without going into too much detail, what it is a family that has kind of fallen through the cracks of society. They needed help. And this group has been doing it. In fact, it's kind of really cool to watch this story unfold. They already raised more than $700 for a stroller for the disabled daughter. They moved them into a place that is safe and warm for them to live. And they are literally at the moment gutting their house and going to re-insulate it and update it to make it a safe and a warm place for them to be able to return to. And here's the coolest part, is that contractors have found out about the project and are donating time from their men to be able to do some of the projects that need to be done. There are companies that are donating materials to see some of this done. There are people that are redoing plumbing and electrical to get some of those things done. There are people every week that are donating their time to just tear things apart or to paint things or whatever. The community is uniting in the midst of this, and they called me to take care of one of the specific projects that needs to be done. Now, why do I tell you this? To get this, to be a kind of a church project? No. In fact, this is something that I looked at and said, I can do this. I can do this. And yet how much fun, I can't help but say this, how much fun would this be for us to be able to do together? They're looking for volunteers to help them along the way, to raise some money along the way to get some of the things that need to be done, to do some painting along the way. And here's what I told them. I said, I'd love to do this project for you, but I'm a pastor first. Can I invite my church to jump on board with me? I'll take care of this part, I said, but I'd like to invite my church to jump on board with me. And they said, we'd love to have some of your people come out and help us however they want to help. There's, like I said, there's painting to be done. There's different things that I'm going to need help with on this project if people are interested in helping out. Starting this Tuesday, I'm going to begin this project. I'd love for some of you to say, hey, listen, I'd like to come down and work with you to do this. I've got some material that I'm going to be donating myself. I've got some funds raised that I'm going to use to buy some stuff that need to be bought. I mean, I need to raise some more funds to be able to do that. But church, don't get me wrong in the middle of this. This is my project that was the answer to my prayer when I began to ask God, how can I make a difference within my community with the gifts that I have? It's an opportunity. Do you catch that? But step back with me from this. And the reason why I share this with you today is this, It's to pose the same question of you. Have you asked that question of God yet about your abilities? You see, this is the cool part about our mission of being the church in the pandemic and despite the pandemic, is that for some of us, it might be working on a project like this. Like, I'd love to connect with some of you and for us to do some of these projects together. For others, though, you're like, listen, that's not my thing. And I get that. But some of you are great at cooking and are going to be doing meals for people. Hey, how cool is that? For some of you, it's going to look totally different again. What I'm not asking today of you is what you can't do. What I'm asking of you is to ask God, what can I do to be Jesus to somebody within my community? Church, I'm excited about this because this is just one of the things that I've been hearing going on and rumbling in the background of people making a difference in a way that they can make a difference. For those who want to jump on board with us as a church as we go down this road, I want you to know, I believe God is going to do some great things in the next few months as we dive into His Word together, as we begin to pray and meet together on a regular basis, as we start being the church in the pandemic and despite the pandemic. So that's my spiel. Happy Thanksgiving to you all. I hope that you have a great day today, and we will see you next week.